today we're talking about foster caring. Did you know that there are currently 4,000 children in care in Northern Ireland, and many of these children are looking for a place to live? It sounds quite simple, doesn't it? A place to live. It's something that we've all very much take for granted. But for many young people, the reality is that they have nowhere. They have nothing and nowhere. So that's why we have groups like Action for Children. And I've got a team from that group here today. With me today is Jennifer Hamilton. She's the team manager of the fostering services. We have a foster carer today, quite a new foster carer. That's Kate Rainey from Fermanagh. And then I've got Kellie Burch. You are the marketing and recruitment person for foster caring. So you get the people on board for fostering. You're all very welcome today. So if you've ever thought about fostering, this is the podcast for you. We're going to take a little deep dive into how to become a foster carer and why we need services like this. So, Jennifer, let's start with you. Tell us about Action for Children and how it differs from other agencies.
Hi, Kim. Thanks very much. Well, I'm here from Action for Children. We're a charity across the whole of the UK, but the service I manage is the fostering service in Northern Ireland, so we cover the whole region. We're one of the smaller fostering agencies, but I suppose that means we feel you get a more personalised support really with us. We really try to focus on matching the right child with the right foster carer. And that means that our social workers have quite small caseloads. It means they can come out and visit really, really regularly.
Now, with us today, we have Kate. Now, Kate, you are a foster carer, but you only became a foster carer within the last couple of years. So what inspired, I mean, that's a big step to take, isn't it? What inspired that journey?
Hi, so that was inspired by my job as a teacher.
Right.
So when I was 22, I qualified as a primary school teacher. And from my first class, I had a girl who had a very difficult start in life, but she was adopted by some wonderful parents. And as her teacher, I got to know her, a little bit about her story, but I also got to see on a daily basis how her difficult start in life was still affecting her, even at this point, which was P5, how it affected her academically and socially and emotionally, of course, and how her adoptive parents were working with her to try and overcome some of those obstacles. And really throughout the 16 years that I've been a teacher, I have got to know more and more children who are in care or who need to be in care and their stories. And my eyes were really opened up to this need. I learned that not every child like me has a safe place, has loving parents. And so over time, it just became something that the more I had my eyes open to it, the more I thought this is something that I want to help with. And I became determined that at some point in my life, I would want to do it.
So you made that call. And of course, the first port of call is you, Kellie. So Kellie, you're in charge of recruiting foster carers. Which means that you are the first person they contact. So talk us through what happens next whenever I call.
Yeah, so when you call, generally I would just establish where you're at on your fostering journey. So whether you just want a bit more information about what fostering is, or if you're at the stage where you want to take that first step, then we would do what we call a screening call. So it's really simple. It's only about 15 minutes with me. We go through a range of questions, so it just gives me a chance to get to know you better. So after the screening call, as long as there's no obvious reason why you can't proceed to foster, I would refer you to our social work team, and they would then carry out an initial home visit, which is a much more in-depth visit where they get to really deep dive into you and your circumstances. And then also at that point, they would look at your home just to make sure you have things like a spare bedroom and just to make sure that your house got the health
obvious
and
things.
Yes, and just make sure your house is safe for a young person to live in. So that would usually take about maybe an hour and a half. So it could be done by video or it could be done face to face. And then if that all proceeds well and you're happy to proceed and the foster and social worker is happy to proceed, then you would be invited to do our prep to foster training. So we do that early on just to give you a real idea of what the reality of fostering is, what circumstances you could face, and then we get a real idea of what skills and strengths you have and where we can help you to develop in fostering. So if you've done all that and you still feel committed that you want to go, then we would invite you to do the formal assessment side of things. So that would be done with a range of face-to-face visits with your foster and social worker, and all the information would be gathered up into a report then, which would be presented to our panel, who would then make a recommendation whether you should be approved or not. So that whole process can take from about 6 to 9 months.
Right, so it's quite a long process. Jennifer, would you say that right now, we have a crisis? Do we have a problem finding carers?
Yeah, we do. There's more and more children coming into care every day. But
why is that? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, a variety of reasons, really. I mean, there's the cost of living crisis, I think, is really impacting poverty.
It's hard, isn't it? Yes, that's one thing that I want to touch on. Are you paid to be a foster carer?
You get a fee and an allowance, so you get money towards the child, but we also pay then a fee on top of that.
Right, okay.
So not everywhere does that. That's something that the private agencies would.
That makes it accessible to people who might have all the skills, but maybe not the finances.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because otherwise it is a little bit unfair, because if you just happen to not be very wealthy, but you'd be a great foster carer otherwise. So that's brilliant, yeah.
So many people can be an excellent foster carer.
Yeah, but just don't have the means. What are you looking for in a foster carer?
I think you're looking for somebody who's kind and loving, who's patient, but beyond that, someone who's compassionate and can understand where a child's coming from, get down on their level, and walk alongside them. You need somebody who can understand that there's times the trauma is going to come out in behaviour, and that in itself can be a challenge, but that behaviour always means something. The child's trying to communicate something to you, and you have to try and understand that. And with that then comes some tenacity and the ability to stick by a child through the tough times as well as the good times.
And there are a few myths. There's lots of myths. People will say, I'm single, I can't foster.
Absolutely not true. We've got some amazing single carers.
They'll say, I'm in a same-sex relationship, I can't foster.
Absolutely not the case, yeah.
They'll say, I'm old, like I'm in my 60s, I can't foster.
We've got carers of all ages. Yeah. And younger carers too. As long as you're over 21, we have some people who've come through.
That actually surprises me a little bit.
Yeah.
And is that like a thing these days? I suppose they have the energy, whereas most of us don't.
I do think that there seems to be a bit of a trend, really, where a lot of younger people have thought about, do they want to have their own children, or do they want to try and support children who are already here and who need supportive homes? And sometimes that can be short breaks, so they can be the carers who come once a month.
They can be the fun uncle, the fun uncle and aunt,
and take the young person out. But quite often then that develops into becoming longer term foster carers as well.
And what are the age parameters?
21 plus, really? We've got some older carers. It's more about being able to show that you've got the commitment and the energy, and
because
that
not
you
every
understand
70-year-old's the same. You get some 70-year-olds who are, like really old, and some who are bouncing about.
Exactly. And it's your circumstances and what's realistic for you.
Yeah, so you take it on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
So I think that's one thing that people are a little bit worried about. They're like, they'll not take me because, I'm single, or I'm this or I'm that. But as long as you have that room and that want and the urge and the love to do it. Right, so moving over to this lady here who did have the love to do it. Yeah. So you went through all your assessments. What were the assessments like?
So almost exactly a year it took from when we had our first onboarding call with Kellie to when we went to panel. And initially it was lots and lots of time spent with our assessing social worker who had hundreds of questions to ask myself and my husband.
What kind of questions?
Questions about our own childhood and how we were parented, because that's going to impact how you parent. Questions about our relationship and our hopes and dreams for the future, and lots of scenarios. So sometimes through video or just through explanation, we were given a particular scenario about a child or a circumstance. What would you do in that situation? Just to get us thinking creatively, and so to be assessed on how we would respond. As well as that, they assessed our home for safety. They assessed our dogs, because we had 2 collie dogs. So we had a pet assessment. We had access and eyes done. We had lots of references from different people to find out.
How many references do you have to have?
Between the 2 of us, I think it was at least 6.
And who were those from?
So they could be, some were family members, some were employers, some were close friends. Right. A whole range of different people to kind of give testimony to our character and who we were.
Right. That's really interesting. So do some people find the process a little bit intrusive?
It can be intrusive, but I suppose by the nature
it has to. I mean, obviously it has to be. So would that be something, the first hurdle really, that people find it a little bit intrusive?
It can be a bit intrusive, but we have actually had people who have gone through the process and have actually said it's very therapeutic and they've learned a lot about themselves.
Therapy. Yes.
Because we had one foster care who had said, like, I knew that I had a lot to give, but I didn't realise like,
how much.
How much.
So, which is lovely.
So yes, it can be intrusive, but it can be a real learning process for yourself as well to really understand who you are and what you do have to offer. Because
this is a two-way street. Not only are you offering a safe haven to a child, that child's offering you something. That child's offering you, I don't know, the chance to be a parent, the chance to kind of go back to that, to parenting. Maybe if you didn't feel you were a great parent the first time round, or I don't know, whatever, or you were too young, or to sort of go back and become the parent that you wanted to be. So it is very much a two-way street, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. You invest a lot into a young person, but
they invest in you. It is very much a two-way street, and something that I really do feel you would really gain a lot from. Do you have to give up work? I always wanted to know that.
You don't have to give up work as long as you have the time and availability to meet the needs of the young person. Right. You can continue to work. Something that you will explore during the assessment process, what that time and availability looks like, what your support network's like. So as long as you can be there for them when they need you, then we can definitely explore fostering while still working.
Right. So like say you are a foster carer, can you have a childminder as well?
Be more as long as it's somebody sort of in your support network, really, or if it's a registered.
It just kind of depends, really. I mean,
it's taken on a case by case basis.
Yeah, it is, and you do want to be, as the carer, the most available person.
Yeah.
So you might look at the age group of children that you foster. You might think, it's not so good to be a foster babies if you're working full time, but perhaps that could totally work with a teenager.
To come home and have That's interesting. Now, obviously the impact of this job on you, Jennifer, I mean, you must see some very sad things. How do you support yourself emotionally through that kind of thing?
And you do hear some sad stories and it does impact you.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the good team support really that we have.
Yes.
We would talk a lot as a team just about the sorts of experiences that our young people are going through and thinking about how we can best support them and best support the foster carers. So I think having that structure around you is what you need, and it helps with your confidence.
Yes.
Make sure you're doing the right thing.
Because you need somebody to talk to.
You do. And I think that's what you get with Action for Children. Every foster carer has a social worker
Everybody
assigned
needs
to them.
someone to talk to because you're taking on a lot of trauma from a child. And even hearing those things is,
Yeah. And the foster care is right at the coalface of it.
Yeah, well,
they're the ones who are
So we're
facing it the
moving
most.
back to Kate here because the story, right. So you've passed all of your assessments and it's like, go. So what happens then?
So we went to panel and we were approved just for respite and short-term care.
And was that your choice?
It was a choice that we made with our social worker.
Right, that was going to be most suitable. So respite and short-term. How short-term is short-term?
Short-term is anything up to 2 years.
Oh gosh, right, so it's not really short. Okay,
we're playing loose with the word short there.
Yes, they are,
But also it was only for one child or a sibling pair for 4 to 14-year-olds. So they're very specific about what
very specific. So why not? You just didn't maybe feel you wanted a little baby, or
2 reasons. I'd never had a baby at this point. I have since then.
Oh, have you? Right,
yes, I have.
Always happens, doesn't it?
But at that point, I hadn't had a baby, and
that's a lot.
It's a lot to take.
It's a lot. Yes.
Myself and my husband are both primary school teachers, so 4 to 14. That's our bread and butter. That's what we know. So
and then the teenagers, you thought, well, that's out of your knowledge range.
Exactly. So we decided to start with what we knew.
Yes, that's a good idea. It's a really good idea.
Yeah. So that's what we were initially approved for. And so a few months after our panel, we did some respite care for a girl.
So how does that happen? Like, what actually happens? Do you get like an email? Do you get a phone call?
You get a visit from your social worker.
They come to your house.
They come to your house and they say,
we've got
had
someone.
A referral.
We've got someone. And do you look at pictures?
No, you don't. You don't get given personal details about the child. You're given general information about that child and the situation. And so we're given a certain amount of information, enough to base a decision on that we are willing and happy to invite that child into our home.
And how did that feel? That must have been really exciting.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I think it'd be exciting, wouldn't it?
There's a lot of anticipation. Yeah. There's a lot of what-ifs. There's a lot of planning.
Yes. Yes, the planning. You knew it was going to be, like, say, for instance, it was a boy age 7. So you'll know that. So you'll be like, oh, what do boys age 7 like?
Exactly
So
that.
you'll have to go out and buy like a duvet set with, I don't know, you'll be like, oh, no, what do boys age 7? What do boys age 7? Like, you know, because you're a primary school teacher. Do the children come with clothes? Do they come with, or do some do, some don't? I suppose it is on a case by case. Yes.
So we were providing respite for a child who had already been in care for some time.
Yeah.
And this was a planned break. It was 4 days over
just 4
New
days,
Year's.
right.
It was just a 4-day New Year respite for her existing foster carers.
Oh, yes, right.
And so she came to us, so we had lots of time to prepare. We were able to have a phone call or a video call with her foster carers before she came. And so we could ask them, what does she like to eat for dinner?
Yeah.
What does she like to do? So we could plan out, I'd like to get a little care package to leave for her on her bed when she arrives. What would she like in that? So we felt very well equipped to invite her into our home, and she came, and it went very, very well. And then you go back to square one. So your social worker comes again and says, we've had some more
only
referrals.
for 4 days.
That was initially.
It must be hard. Now, this is a problem too. It must be hard saying goodbye to them. I mean, how do you not get emotionally attached to these children?
It depends on the circumstances as well. You get to obviously know the young person, and in an instance, if they're going back to a long-term foster family where that is their home,
that's their home. So
you know they're going back somewhere. You know they're going back somewhere that they're going to be cared for.
Yes.
And in instances as well, if they're going back, for example, to their birth family, you know that
That's where
decision's
they want
been
to be.
made because it's the right thing for the young person. So
Yeah.
there obviously is going to be that sense of loss, and that's very much what our team does, is to support you during that process. But I think ultimately foster carers, they know if it's for the right thing for the child, that sort of helps with that transition and to say goodbye.
Yes, that they know it's only for a certain length of time. To the more practical things, do some children arrive with nothing? Like, do they arrive just with the clothes they're standing in? Is that common?
Yeah, that can happen.
I often wondered that.
Yeah.
You know. And then what do? Do you have like stuff at home?
Yeah, well, I suppose what we would advise carers then is just to go and do some shopping and get what they need, and we can then support them with paying for that. But they might take the child out with them and just say, well, who do you love? What are you into? So that you can decorate the bedroom to their likes and dislikes. And it's quite a good bonding activity as well to do that with them. And get them their clothes. Sometimes children have to move schools, which is really difficult on top of everything else that is changing. So
It's
there's
a
support
lot for
around
these
that.
children. I mean, to come into a stranger's home, you know, having already gone through maybe an unsatisfactory sort of experience, they're very brave, these kids, aren't they?
They are, and it's very, very difficult for them. And so that's why you need, a foster carer who is compassionate and who can kind of judge where a child's at, because some children will come in and have the brave face on and be very chatty and friendly, and other ones will want to stand back and, get used to their surroundings first. So it's kind of having people who can tune into that.
Yes, who can tune into the child and how they think. Children are wonderful, aren't they? They're so resilient. They really are. Whenever you think of what some children have been through. It's tough, isn't it? So you finished your first placement and it all went well. So then what happened?
So then our social worker came back and said...
And how much of a gap was there?
A few weeks, maybe a fortnight.
Oh, right, okay. Gosh, right.
And she said, we've had 3 referrals in.
Oh, right.
She said, I'm going to tell you about all of them. She said, I know which one I think is the best match for you.
Oh, right, okay.
But I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
So she told us about all 3, and we went, myself and my husband, went away and discussed them. And we knew pretty soon which one we felt was the best match, which Action for Children are very, very good at.
And they knew. And did you pick the same person?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
Absolutely. So then we went back to our social worker and we said, we think that this child would be best for our home. We feel that we can provide a good, loving home for that child, potentially. So then she said, okay, great, we'll set up a meetup. So
And what's that like?
Again, it's like going to your first day of school.
Yeah.
It's sort of you arrange. We went to her home where she was living at the time with her sort of emergency foster care placement, and it was just a 1 hour drop in, meet, say hello, look at her collection of Pokemon cards.
And she knows that you're a prospective foster care. Oh, she doesn't know. Right, okay.
No, it wasn't initially given that information in the first meetup. We were just kind of family friends.
You just dropped in to say hi. Okay,
exactly,
yes.
yeah.
And why would that? Is that because these children have already been rejected and kind of
It can
put
be,
through
and
too
it just
much-
depends.
It's just too much information for them.
Yeah,
right,
older
okay.
children would know.
They would know rightly.
Yeah,
They'd be like, oh,
would
yeah,
know.
see, you're here to foster. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the younger ones don't need to know in case you met her and you thought, no, she's not right.
Exactly.
And again, that's not
nice.
her fault.
No,
Yes.
no.
So, gosh, you really have to tread this line, don't you?
You do.
Really
and
have to think
it's for
of
how she
everything.
responds to them as well. You know, you're looking
Yes.
at that
She
too.
might not- yeah,
to
she
say,
might
will
not like
she
you.
will she interact? You know, it is a two-way street.
She doesn't like us.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like everybody
No.
in life. You know what I mean? So there's no reason why children necessarily like you. They might just go, not for me, you know?
To be honest, that's how things should be done properly. But it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes things happen very, very quickly and you don't get these chances to do introductions.
Yes,
But when you
yes.
do, they work really well.
Yes. So you decided she was coming to you and...
Well, we said we are still interested. So then the social worker said, well, why don't you take her out for the day? So me and my husband, we took her out. We went to the Ulster American Folk Park, the three of us together. We had a lovely day out. We got to know her a bit more, and that went very well. And so then the social worker said, okay, well, maybe she'll come to your house for a sleepover. So we had a few different meetups, which we had the flexibility and the happy circumstance to be able to do that. I know that's not always how it happens, but she was then able to come to our home, and she stayed for a night. And then things went very quickly. It
Yes.
was, okay, she's moving in tomorrow. So
at that point, did you take her shopping for like bedding
well,
and...
we did. Yeah. So she had a lot of things that she was bringing from her existing foster
Just
home.
good to, yes.
But then we went out and we took her shopping for a few little nice
Exciting.
homely touches
Yes,
for
yes.
her room. And that was a year and a half ago.
And she's still with you?
And she is still with us.
And she's very much part of your family?
She is 100% part of our family.
And did you say
Absolutely.
you've had a baby since then?
Yes, I have.
So now
Yes.
she has a little sister?
A brother.
A brother?
She has a brother. A 1 year. He turned 1 at the weekend.
Wow.
Yes.
And obviously, did you know, sorry to be I'm so nosy here.
That's
Did
okay.
you know that you were pregnant whenever you were fostering or?
So we got pregnant around the time of our panel.
And that's okay.
That
That's
time,
okay.
That's okay.
That's okay, right, okay.
Because
Yeah.
our social worker knew that was potentially
family.
going to happen.
Yeah.
I said to our social worker, I'd love to foster and I'd love to have my own biological children if that happens. And it did.
And was she excited whenever you had the baby?
She was, yeah. I was actually pregnant when we met her.
Right.
So it was always known to her that
Cue a
there
lot
was
of
going
questions.
to be a baby.
Cue a lot of questions.
Yes. So they're
Yes.
siblings now, you know.
Yeah, they are siblings,
He
aren't they?
is her brother, and they get on just like siblings do. Sometimes they love each other.
Throwing bricks at each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
The way siblings do. Now, if you are fostering a child, then does that lead on to adoption? Can it lead on to adoption?
So Action for Children, we don't offer adoption. That would be very much through the local authorities,
Right,
really.
okay.
It would be their decision about whether young persons can go on to adoption. So really our focus is on offering more permanency through fostering.
Yes.
But yes, there is people that would go fostering as a first step then to go on to adoption, but that would be the decision then of the fostering team from the local authority that look after the
And
young
if,
person.
of course, the birth parents want to relinquish rights, and if they would be forced to relinquish rights, but maybe if they're not, then can the child belong to, like, can somebody say to you, you can foster this child till they're 18?
Yes, that's what we would call long-term
Yeah,
fostering,
right, okay.
and that, to be honest, would be a focus for Action
Yeah.
for Children. About, I think, 70% of our foster carers would be considered long-term at this point.
Rather than, and is that because the whole court process is a bit traumatic and long and drawn out of actually relinquishing control of or relinquishing parental rights for your child? And
It's one of those things. I guess at that point, obviously, if there's no other option, then
Yes.
that would be
Yeah.
the case. But there's just instances where it's just not feasible for a young person
Yeah.
to return
no,
home.
no, and that's just right. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's just decided. And do the birth parents agree to that and just say they know it's the best thing?
Not always,
always,
but
yeah.
adoption's not always the best plan for children. You know,
Right.
there's some children out there who have really quite strong relationships with their birth
Yes.
families or with siblings who are in different placements.
Right.
And so you don't want to sever those ties
Well, there's no
completely.
point really- yeah, there's
but
no-
it's not
yeah.
safe for the children to live at home.
Yes.
So fostering can be really, really helpful for those children because they
Yeah.
live somewhere safe, but they still have those
But
ties
so
in.
how does that work? The visits to family.
Yeah, that's usually called family time or contact.
Yeah.
And it's, again, on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
So it depends really where the children are in that process. You know, if a child's only just come into care and the court process is still going on, they'll see their parents more often because the outcome hasn't been decided.
Yes.
If it's been decided by the court, you know, that they're going to stay in care, then contact is a bit less frequent.
Yes.
But it should be done in, you know, in light of how the child feels and with their best interests at heart. So foster carers do have to have that relationship with birth family and do have to be able to meet birth family and bring the children there and drop them home again. And
maybe knowing some not so pleasant details, but they've got to put that to the side.
Yeah. And if a situation was unsafe, contact would be supervised and there would be a social worker there or a social work assistant.
Yes.
But it's just you have to have that ability to make those relationships, not just with the children, but also with the adults.
Yes, you have to have the empathy to realise that some people aren't great parents, but it's not really their fault. It's circumstance. It's not that they're necessarily bad people. It's just circumstance has dictated.
And their experience of being parented themselves might have been difficult.
Of course, of course, yes, of course. Does your little person have contact? Yes,
she does. Yeah, she does. She sees her birth mother, and we have a good relationship. Good. Yeah. You know, we've been very, very fortunate that every interaction that we've had has been very positive.
That's good.
And we've been very grateful for the ways that she's maintained the relationship. She's very grateful to us.
That's lovely.
Our role in her,
that's absolutely lovely. And
life.
Is that common?
It is, I would say more.
Because I think it's more common than you'd think. So I think a lot of people think it's just this whole row and a fight.
Yeah.
But
whereas that would be
the
I
extreme.
Would say
right,
the
okay.
exception.
Very much the exception. Most
people want the best for their children.
Yeah, they do. They do. And they love their children and they look forward to seeing them.
And they just can't get it together to maybe parent them in the way that is appropriate.
Yeah.
And I suppose then that birth mum then sort of takes on the role as kind of like an auntie, sort of, or a family member, sort of. You know.
It's hard because she's always under the law. She's always the mum. She always has parental responsibility, which she shares with the trust. So, you know, you're always walking that line of giving her respect as the birth mum.
Of course.
But obviously the foster carer is doing the day-to-day parenting, you know, and so that can be at times difficult, but the carers are supported in how to manage those
managing relationships. So how did you find becoming a parent overnight?
Yeah, that was a big change.
Does she call you mum?
She doesn't.
No.
Well, she has a few times instinctively.
Yes, of course.
But she does. She calls me Kate.
Yeah.
But it's been an amazing experience. You know, you're right. It goes from naught to suddenly this child is in your home and you are their responsibility, and you just do it. You just go into foster care mode.
Mode.
Well,
you're a parent. Yeah.
You are.
You're a parent. Yeah.
But it has been a joy, and we've had the privilege of seeing lots of firsts. So we taught her to ride a bike. We got to see her ride a bike for the first time. She's just conquered her fear of swimming, and we've seen her learn to swim 100 metres for the first time.
How very normal. Just very normal, isn't it? I think there's a lot of scare stories about fostering, probably more so than adoption. But yet, whenever I speak to you, Kellie, if you read Local Woman, which of course you do, you'll see stories in it every month about foster carers and about people, and they're just some of the most normal, lovely stories.
Yeah.
And would you say that's probably more common than...
Absolutely more common, yeah. It's just about doing those everyday things that you would do with children and celebrating those, you know, what seem like small wins, but they're
little
just,
things, but are massive.
They're so important.
But to parents, they're massive.
Yeah.
And what that means to that little girl, because not only does she have a Kate, but she has a mum, and she has a brother, and she has lots of people around her that love her, and she's safe and secure. And like that's, I mean, to you, that must make your job so worthwhile.
Absolutely. Like part of my role is to speak to our foster carers, to hear their stories, to use snippets of their stories to sort of show this is what fostering is. And when I talk to foster carers, like honestly, like I'm so inspired by them. And
do you get emotional?
I do get emotional. I do get emotional.
Even listening to you, maybe a little bit maybe a little emotional. Yeah.
And it is when you hear like those small ordinary things that many of us took for granted in our own childhood. That's not a guarantee for every young person.
No.
And to hear that they're having that safety to grow and to do those very normal things, like it is just, it's awe-inspiring.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. And I know for you guys, you know, the two people who are on this side of it, it's such a lot of work. You know, it's such a lot of admin and legal and all those things that people don't really know about. But then without people like you, Kate, it wouldn't be possible. So this is a part where we speak directly to anybody who's ever thought of fostering. And what do we say?
Yeah, if you've thought of fostering, ask the question. Just give us a call. You can go to our website, fill in a inquiry form. Give us a call directly. Drop us an email. Get in contact any way that suits you. And like, we're here just to answer your questions. It's not if you make a phone call that's you tied in. No question is too silly, because there's loads of things that I wanted to know too, that I, you know, because you do sort of hear things, and foster carers come in all shapes and sizes and colours, and
they do. And there's no obligation if you get in touch with us. It really is just to get your questions answered and see. And see. You need to make sure that we're right for you as well, you know, and that you feel that you've got a good vibe off us, and you think, I can work with these people and they sound supportive, and you know, and that's our aim from the very first phone call, really.
Just to make it as smooth a process as you can. You'll do all the red tape. And what about you, Kate? What would you say to anybody listening or watching who's ever thought, oh, I'd like to foster?
Absolutely, reach out and go for it. I know people that I've spoken to who assume they can discount themselves for unnecessary reasons.
All various reasons. Like, you'd have maybe thought, oh, well, I'm English. I can't do it because I'm English. Because I'm not from Northern Ireland. You know, people do think things like that. You know,
or they've heard horror stories and they think,
oh, you're going to get this wild child to you. You know, who's going to wreck the whole house.
Exactly. But that is not the case.
No.
I'm so glad we've done it. My family is better because we are foster carers, and I've got no intention of stopping.
Fantastic. So how do we get in touch with you, Kellie?
So if you go to our website, it's actionforchildren.org.uk/fostering. So you can get in touch with us either through an online contact form, or you can phone our offices, which is 028 90
460-500.
That's it.
You see that? It's teamwork. Action for Children is teamwork.
100%.
And of course, you can check out Local Woman magazine every month where the Action for Children stories are. Thank you so much for coming in, ladies, and particularly to you, Kate, for sharing your story. What a wonderful story. So get in touch with these ladies if you've ever thought about fostering.